Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 massive leaks, oh my god, confirmed, MLG. No. And do we really have to talk about this? Yes, we have to, since for the sake of Hyrule, why are people taking all this as serious news? Do we no longer conduct any research or for that sake learn from the history of the Zelda series? Hello there, Conrad of the Commonwealth Realm here, and I freaking hate fake Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 leaks. First and foremost, unless they're directly leaked from Nintendo, then they are not leaks, they are rumors. I'm just so mad that people are wrongly defining this type of information. Secondly, there's no way that any of the so-called info being released by some old article or retailer is correct, and I'm going to tell you why. But first, consider leaving a like or subscribing for more Zelda videos, including this one. Now then, let's take two examples of so-called leaks before I will tell you in depth and historically why all Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 and new Zelda games leaks are fake. Yes, I understand that we are all craving for more information after over 20 months of waiting, silence and drought for new details regarding the game, and in particular for this 35th anniversary, but this is really not it. The first being the Austrian retailer Gameware, which had Breath of the Wild 2 listed for the second quarter of 2021. Now, I'm not an expert on German or Austrian retailers, but usually when we talk about quarters of the year in release terms, this would be summer. And let me just say it, Breath of the Wild 2 is not coming out this summer. I would love to be wrong, but it is rather obvious that the Zelda team are taking the time with the game, and the earliest realistic release will be in the final quarter of the year. Unless zweite Quartal 2021 means the second half of the year. Well, actually, they changed it to just 2021. I guess the publicity made them do that. But even then, this is clearly a placeholder, as there's no way that we would see a box of the game with uncredited fan art. Then we have what I call a classic troll, but which many took for a leak. Someone found a promo article, supposedly from Nintendo at E3 2019, which details that the game is set deep underneath Hyrule Castle, where a new threat awaits. I'm not saying that this information about the game is false, and it might even be true, but that this text did not come from Nintendo and is pure speculation. None other than our good friend Zeltic mentioned in one of his tweets and made it pretty clear that this is from Games Radar, not from Nintendo. And this is what we see over and over again recently. A very dry beginning of Zelda's 35th anniversary, resulting in fake rumors presented as leaks. When in fact the only thing that can be considered as leaks when it comes to new Zelda games are confirmed to be leaked information from Nintendo by credible sources with a long track record. And this doesn't happen, since meanwhile I believe that the Zelda team are just sitting in the Kyoto offices laughing at how anyone can believe these so-called leaks, when the Zelda team's brand new projects have been, are, and will likely remain leak-proof in the foreseeable future. Okay, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity leaked early, a few days before the November 20th release. But that game was developed by Koei Tecmo, a third party with only close cooperation with the Zelda team. Also, the only thing that leaked from the game was, well, the game file itself a few days prior to release, not information regarding the game before review copies were sent out to approved media outlets. In fact, the reveal of Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity came as a complete shock, as no one expected the Hyrule Warriors game set before Breath of the Wild in the timeline with Breath of the Wild's Hyrule and characters. Though there was one hint there, the sudden re-release of the Breath of the Wild Champion amiibos, but no one managed to connect the lines to a Breath of the Wild themed Hyrule Warriors title shortly before the reveal of the game in September 2020. And there's a clear-cut reason why we are likely to never see a big leak from the Zelda team at Nintendo Kyoto when it comes to a new Zelda game that they are in the process of developing. History and security levels that we can't even imagine, since no other Nintendo franchise has been able for all these years to keep a secret like with the Zelda franchise. And this goes back decades, as brand new Zelda game announcements and details from these are momentous and a big surprise for a reason. They simply don't leak. No official titles of new Zelda games have leaked before their official reveal. In fact, no new Zelda game has ever leaked before its reveal, or for that matter trailers from these. There have been patterns like, say, a new Zelda being revealed at every E3 and then being shown at specific events. And especially say after it's been 3 to 4 years after the last big Zelda game, and also expecting some presence at Game Awards but no direct leaks. And also in the case of the Game Awards, we haven't seen anything Zelda since 2017. And it has remained a secret until the reveal, and it was that in the case of the Wind Waker at the last Nintendo Space World in 2001, Twilight Princess closing off E3 2004 and then revealing of the title at E3 2005, the tease of Skyward Sword at E3 2009, title of Breath of the Wild at E3 2016, and most recently the reveal of the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. None of these reveals leaked in advance. The only possible leak that could have come out of all of these, except for the amiibo situation, is actually the reveal of Breath of the Wild sequel, which could have leaked a day earlier based on the fact that series producer Eiji Aonuma was present at E3 2019 and some lucky individuals were able to take a picture with him the day before Nintendo's E3 Direct. Being at E3 that year, and in that moment, I realized that something was going on beyond Link's Awakening, most likely Breath of the Wild sequel. But unlike what some other people in the industry would do if they were in the same situation, I didn't make a video about it. And you know why? Since I'm deeply respectful towards Eiji Aonuma, Hidemaru Fujibayashi, the Zelda team, and their hard work. I simply waited for Nintendo to likely come with the announcement 20 hours later. Indeed, waiting, that is the greatest virtue when it comes to upcoming Zelda titles. Be patient, but also talk about the games, bring up your own ideas, and then see how much you get right when Nintendo finally comes with new information and the game itself. But do not expect leaks, as these simply do not exist with the Zelda team's super secrecy when it comes to new details in the games and announcements. Their NDAs must be the harshest of all within Nintendo's network of ninjas, and for good reason, as Zelda is Nintendo's overall most respected franchise, and Breath of the Wild only solidified that position, especially after the game went on to break all kinds of Zelda records and is likely to surpass 25 million copies sold by its 5th anniversary in 2022. Series producer Eiji Aonuma and director Hidemaru Fujibayashi want it this way, as they don't want the surprises that they have worked on for 3 to 5 years to leak in advance. That would be the absolute worst thing for them. That includes being the official title of the games, crucial game mechanic that has not been revealed yet, or key story plot points. They want to have full control over these announcements, and so far their track record has no equal, as Zelda has remained leak-proof when it comes to the most guarded secrets. Their upcoming game's official title, plot, and release date remains a secret, and my prediction is that it will remain this way in the future, and hopefully the Mario team in Tokyo will learn a thing or two from the Kyoto-based Zelda team in this regard. After all, you will know when a leak is true or not by Nintendo's reactions, striking YouTube videos and channels that use the correct leak title of the game, story details and other information. They have done it in the past and they are certain to do it again. In particular, footage would leak from the game, as that is physical material that will spread like wildfire, unlike written rumors which cannot be confirmed with physical evidence. Though the same cannot be said about remakes, ports and re-releases of the Zelda franchise, as Link's Awakening HD was leaked months before its release, and it might have to do with trademarks. And a lot of attention has been placed on a few recent listings, specifically 3 of them: Skyward Sword, The Wind Waker, and surprisingly, Phantom Hourglass. And obviously, most people jump the gun that this means that a big or multiple collections and an HD remake are in the works. And they might be right. It is just that recently also Ocarina of Time was trademarked again. So does that mean that we will get Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess HD, Triforce Collection, Skyward Sword HD, and remakes of Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks all in the same year? Yes and likely no. All of these could be in the works, and only some of these could be in the works, or even none of these, but do keep in mind that these trademarks are actually more procedure for Nintendo, since these particular examples were spread individually among the US, Europe, and Australia, which could mean that some trademarks were simply about to expire in those regions. Oh, and the fact that Grezzo, the master of Ocarina of Time 3D, Majora's Mask 3D, and Link's Awakening HD is hiring a programmer, effects designer, and UI designer, as translated by Nintendo Everything, doesn't mean that 2 remakes are right around the corner. Or maybe for late this year, or maybe even after Breath of the Wild 2. After all, Nintendo posted similar hiring calls for Breath of the Wild sequel in the second half of 2019, and we have heard nothing since then. Though, enough about collections, remake, remasters and re-releases. What we need to focus on are the title of the video. And for future new Zelda titles, the trend is clear. The Zelda team are extremely protective of the secrecy, as Eiji Aonuma only attends key events tied to brand new Zelda game reveals, like Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, A Link Between Worlds, Breath of the Wild, and its sequel, and then prior to launches, owing the Game Awards when his games are nominated for Game of the Year like in 2017. Thus we have no idea how they and Nintendo would react to an actual code red leak of the next Zelda game's title, release date, and whatnot. Most likely it would bring great sadness to the Zelda team, who work relentlessly to make the future titles better than the past ones. And the least we should grant them in this lengthy and tiresome process is the right to surprise us. Sakurai has on numerous occasions lost his power when it comes to Super Smash Bros, and he's made it clear on numerous occasions that this simply makes him sad. So what is the lesson from all of this? Simple. Don't believe any of the leaks, as they are very likely fake. Nintendo, scratch that the Zelda team, do not leak to people who could leak, as they have way too much to lose by doing so. The Zelda team is clearly a family who are beyond passionate about their craft and masterpieces and would never ruin the surprises in advance. Unless we have an actual leak, which do keep in mind would be a first in a very, and then I mean a very long time. And until we get something like that, then I will not be covering these so-called Breath of the Wild leaks, which are actually speculations, placeholders, and most of all rumors of things that we don't have clue or information about. If you agree with this, then leave a like on this video and share it to as many as possible, as this is an important message to get across. The Zelda team loves to surprise, and secrecy are their weapon to avoid the surprise from leaking in advance. If you're new to the channel, then most of all welcome, or if you're not new and haven't already, then press that subscribe button, as we're pushing for 300,000 subscribers with the notification bell on and for all notifications, all being completely free to do. Finally, a big thanks goes to all our gracious patreon.com/commonrealm patrons, and in particular our royal producer Charles Shash. And to all of you, please enjoy one or both of these two awesome videos.